Welcome, everyone, to the new edition of Deconversion Stories. As you saw, the brand new intro that my fabulous producer Mikey has whipped up for us, so using the Canadian flag in the background there with my spinning little logo thingy going on. And yeah, we're going to be working on some newer stuff like that for the show. And it's all because of my awesome patrons. You guys are really what makes it possible. So, and of course, the talent and work of Mikey himself. And as you see there, Christopher, also known as Dinner Table, by the way, guys, I could have used his real name, but I went with his Twitter name for the show. But that hashtag coins right there is the drinking game that we do here on the show, where every time you hear the Mario coin on my phone go off, hashtag coins pops up and we all have a sip. And right now I have to drink water because I'm on blood thinners. But anyway, might sneak a beer in later. But yeah, what we do here, Christopher, is we talk to people about their journeys away from whatever belief systems they were once a part of. I've talked to Christians, ex-Jews, ex-Muslims, ex-everything, you name it. Even I had once on my show a guru from the world of woo who used to promote crystal healing and all that kind of stuff. And she actually lives in my city, but that was a really interesting episode. But basically, what I ask is that you take us on whatever form of that kind of journey that you have and into becoming I suppose, atheist activist that you are today. And we're also going to talk a little bit about your channel because I'm really interested in the whole cooking thing. So, hence the name Dinner Table.
There you go.
And you were bragging about whipping up ribs tonight, and I'm already drooling. And so,
I can't wait to tell you everything else that I cooked. But, just because I can't not cook a zillion things once I start cooking. So,
right.
Like I made hot dogs, and I made like some meals for the week, some chopped meat noodles, which is just beefy macaroni.
Right.
To East Coast Italians, and what else? Taco beef because I make spicy rice.
Nice.
So it's just like I just started cooking. I have Sunday gravy on. So anyway,
Sunday gravy. Why do we call it Sunday gravy? By the way,
that's a good question. So where I'm from, it could be spaghetti sauce. It could be spaghetti gravy. Some people, like myself, justify gravy as having some form of meat product in it, like a bone. Or straight up chicken or sausage or meatballs or something like that, right? Whereas a marinade or a marinara would be a sauce. Now, because Sunday is spaghetti day, some people just call it Sunday gravy. So that's what we do.
Nice. Very cool. All right. So I guess you can go ahead and tell your story. You might see me do this every once in a while if I have a question. So
very good. Yeah. Excellent. So I am honored and thank you very much for inviting me to be on The Hang.
My pleasure.
And as you can tell from from the food that I'm talking about making, Sunday gravy. So I'm an Italian American. So I was raised Roman Catholic, and to use a George Carlin line, I was raised Roman Catholic until I reached the age of reason. And I would love for that to actually be true, but it's not. What actually happened was my parents just became more lax in going to mass, but admittedly. When I was growing up in the mid to late 70s, my parents were my Sunday school teachers. And it's not that we were homeschooled. I mean, they were the Sunday school teachers for our church. So since we had to go to Sunday school, my parents for 1 year for 1 year each were our Sunday school teachers. So I was an altar boy. My dad was an usher. My parents were Sunday school teachers, like I said.
Wow.
So, let's see. From there, it just became more lax as far as going to Mass, but we still did the major holidays, like for Easter and for Christmas and stuff. And then I went to college, and, just like so many people, I took some comparative religion classes. Actually, it wasn't even a comparative religion. It was a mythology course that pretty much acted like a comparative religion course. Okay.
Break that. I'd have a mason jar. I knew I liked you.
So just real quick, this is I have seltzer. I'm a big seltzer fan. Blackberry tangerine seltzer and a little bit of grape juice. All right. So, and I just grew further and further away from an actual faith that a God existed. And I think that in part of the noise in the background is a little cleanup, post-food cleanup happening in the kitchen. And that was pretty much that. Like there was no like religion never did me wrong specifically.
It
And I
just
think that
became unconvinced kind of thing, or
yeah, it just like enough distance from it, and then seeing evidence of how like, oh, this is what cultures do, right? That's, you know, and it's not necessarily how I thought of it at the time, but looking back and putting it in a narrative, it seems that that was a taking that course was certainly a game changer. And then studying psychology, I took a course in psychology of religion, which just reinforced not only that religion is what cultures do, but it's also what humans do. Right?
yes,
It's like there are controversial claims about there being an evolutionary significance for religion. And, you know, the psychology of it is very fun. So that being said, that just drew me further and further away from like a belief in there being a God. I kind of leaned towards atheist activism after 9/11, after reading, you know, the Four Horsemen's books, particularly Dawkins. For some reason, I was absolutely
God delusion?
enthralled. Yes, God delusion. I liked it so much that I highlighted it. I
all the good stuff.
I took notes by hand, and then I typed up my handwritten notes for that book.
Wow.
Right, like that's like a old, like I used to do that in college when I was a student, right? So, that's how into that book I was, and then the YouTubes kind of came along, and at first I was mostly drawn to Kent Hovind videos.
Really? See, that guy just makes me want to pull all my hair out. That's all I do. And there's a lot to pull out.
That is exactly why. It was kind of hate watching, but it was also this. So my gig is I manage a laboratory, and
I work in one.
What's that?
I work in one.
Oh, what kind of lab do you work in?
Well, I work for an environmental company, and I test like waste oil, waste fuel, waste dirt, waste antifreeze, stuff like that for contaminations. And then I also run the antifreeze department as well for recycling the antifreeze into brand new stuff. And then I test the new stuff as well.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
I work in a laboratory that studies the psychology of the sense of smell. And my boss also has a master's in public health. And we also do toxicological stuff that borders on toxicological studies as well.
Very cool.
We have a lot to talk about. Anyway, so I'm into science. And I just see Hovind twisting it in a way that I've never seen it twisted. I've always thought like, oh, people who pursue science are honest brokers, and you know, like all the language that I learned when I was, you know, taking my courses in psychology and experimental psych and research design and stuff like that. And Hovind just was so good at being a slick car salesman who bastardized what science, the narrative of science towards his end. And I found it fascinating. I was like, how can somebody think this, right? How can they bend evolution to match their 2,000-year-old version of Earth? Like that just, my mind was just absolutely blown. Salute.
Cheers.
So that kind of got me interested in it. And then I started listening to podcasts, which were new at the time. I was listening to it on what device did I have? My Palm Trio.
Oh, yeah.
Before that, I was a big Palm Pilot guy. So listening to podcasts on my Palm Trio, I thought I was the coolest dude in the world, right? I'm listening to, what was it? The Center for Inquiry had a podcast called Point of Inquiry.
I'm familiar with that.
And at the time, it was hosted by the gentleman who I believe is working for the gentleman who just passed away, Randi, the James Randi Foundation.
Oh, James Randi, yes.
Or maybe he did work there for a while and doesn't anymore. Regardless, I was listening to that, and that was a critical thinking. So this Center for Inquiry, for those who don't know, is a secular humanist think tank that fights for secular humanist policy and tries to prevent the spread of egregious church versus state cases, to put it super broadly. And through that, I heard that they had a program with SUNY Buffalo that was a master's program in science communication called Science in the Public. So I enrolled. And
why not?
I now have my master's in science communication, science and the public. And I also had an opportunity to be a visiting research fellow at Center for Inquiry. My connection there was John Shook, who was one of my, he was head of research there, and he was also teaching at SUNY Buffalo, so he was one of my professors. So I got to hang out there for 3 weeks, and once a week, all I had to do was teach a 1-hour course on complementary and alternative medicines from a skeptical perspective. It was the cushioniest gig.
It's a lot of fun, that alternative medicine sort of stuff too, right?
Oh, and it's money generating, brother. It is
I know.
money generating business. Based on the flimsiest of evidence.
What's that
if any
P.T.
at all.
Barnum saying, or allegedly P.T. Barnum saying?
Yep.
Sucker born every minute.
Yeah.
Although they can't actually attribute that to him.
But there's the P.T. Barnum effect from a psychological perspective, is which, like telling people about themselves, which essentially was complementary and alternative medicine is, right? It's like your natural state is health, and so all you need to do is bring it back to alignment. All that happy horseshit. Yeah. I'm happy
Align
to talk
your
to you about
chakras.
that as well. Yeah, exactly. With chiropractic, with subluxations even. Like, come on. All right.
Yeah, it's happening.
So what do those mean? Again, remind me. When those go off, is it just a reminder to drink, or is somebody doing something?
It's just everyone takes a drink. It's kind of the drinking game thing.
I love it. All right. So where am I? Bam, bam.
I don't get very drunk on water, though, but
Yeah, I'll excuse you if you have to take some pee breaks. So I ended up getting my master's in science communication, science in the public. And
yeah, sorry, man. Sometimes it goes apeshit. Sometimes it's really quiet.
All good. I'm taking small sips so that I don't have to take too many bathroom breaks.
Honestly, I think it's Canadian Ollie man doing it on purpose, because he doesn't drink, so he has a puff instead off of the old doobie sort of thing. So he's like, I'm not baked enough. I need to hit the coins thing a little more. Fuck you, Ollie.
So through getting my master's and being a research fellow at Center for Inquiry, I was introduced to a lot of people who were kind of like, popular, like especially during that research fellow, because it was during a summer program where they were having these kinds of education and lectures and visitors. And so I got to meet some fun people. I became dissuaded of the atheist activist position. So I do not self-label as an atheist activist. So there came a point where, after deconverting from Roman Catholicism, I deconverted from atheist activism, because I'll be the first to tell you that, like, I wanted so bad to have the argument against Kent Hovind, to put him in his place, because Kent Hovind espouses what's called an evidentialist, proselytizing, what's the term for gospel, whatever. It's evidentialist as compared to a presuppositional, right? Apologetic. That's what it is. An evidentialist apologetic.
Yeah,
and
the
that was
use of really flimsy evidence to form their apologetics.
But it was very evidential. Because it was evidential, it was very scientific. It was actually things you could sink your teeth into. If he said this, you could go to that source. You could find things that either corroborate or don't corroborate it, right? Sure. And then the presup came along. The presup argument, as espoused by, well, it didn't come along, but it became popularized by Cy-Ten Bruggencate, and that blew up the internet. And every chat room that was creation versus evolution started to get populated by Cyclones, right? Clones of Psi 10 Bruggencate. And the presuppositional argument took the atheists online by storm, and it kind of put them on their heels and forced them to learn philosophy in a way they didn't really have to before. And then because it essentially weaponizes philosophy, right? How do you know? And so that contributed to my distancing from, because this is all kind of around the same time, because it took me 3 years to finish the 2-year program just to finish my thesis. So like the Psi 10 thing kind of happened during my 3rd year when I was finishing up my thesis.
Right.
And what was popular at the time was a clip from a show called The Place that was on the New Covenant Group's channel, and it was of Dr. Michael Jones, Psi 10 Bruggencate, Eric Hovind, Greg Brahe, Bob Graves, and it's the one where Psi 10 Bruggencate walks off the stage. So that was super duper popular at the time. And
I remember that video.
That got me interested in the New Covenant group. So I started watching them more. And they used to have 12 hours of shows on their network on Sundays, as well as evening shows during the week. And they're based out of Pensacola, Florida. And one thing led to another, and I ended up having my own show on the New Covenant group, and it was called Meeting of the Minds. And the goal of that, very much like the dinner table, is it was a way to model how to disagree with people without being disagreeable. So I would have people on that had opposing views, either as theists, deists, Satanists, or atheists, right? Because at that time, I was very much not an atheist activist, because I thought most of them acted like assholes and had really bad arguments. Am I allowed to curse, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, fuck yeah. Yeah, that's fine.
Good man. So, and I still kind of think that, but that's a separate topic. So at the time, I was able to...
It's a name for that group there. The Traveling Dingleberries, apparently. For the apologists.
We used to call them the clown car posse.
Yeah.
So I had my own show, Meeting of the Minds, and then I ended up continuing Meeting of the Minds after not doing it on the New Covenant group, and that was after I did a debate, the only debate I ever did online, and I did it with Nephilim Free.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I know.
What a character that guy is.
He and I are very close. Like every time I reach out to him on Skype, he has very kind things to say. I jumped in his hangs every once in a while. He's very nice to me. So I have nothing bad to say about Nephi as far as he treats me. I know that he has some very interesting theories, positions on things.
If you could call them that.
Hypotheses.
I would rather go with the word hypotheses, yeah.
There we go. So that being said, I stopped doing Meeting of the Minds and kind of left the intertubes for a while, and then just recently got kind of back into it, but way more casually. So to get to hone in specifically to my current channel, which is Christopher Mowdy. I don't think my YouTube channel is called Dinner Table, but I don't remember.
No, I think it just uses your name.
Good. So my name right here, the Christopher Mowdy, and so. Yep. Now we drink. So, I now am using the internet to build a better quality of life for myself. Here's how that works. I've built a playground with a YouTube channel that has 3 shows. I think that the highest quality of life possible, the maximum human potential that I can achieve, is through connecting with other people. I really like connecting with other people.
Me too.
Excellent. And we'll get along.
That's why I do this show.
That's exactly why I was doing my show. Now, real life is very different for me now than it was then. So I spend more time focused on real life. But now I have playgrounds set up. So if I want to do a show about belief, religion, the psychology of religion, I have a show called Atheist, because that's pretty much what I consider myself now. Like, if somebody were to ask me what is my whatever metaphysical position, I'm atheist. Like, on a good day, I'm apathetic about it, so I'm an apatheist. But if you want to have a conversation and you want me to take a position, the one that I mostly align with is atheism. Right? But I'm not going to argue it to my death. I'm not going to die on that hill.
Right. And I'm the same as you. I'm kind of apatheist as well. I don't really care what you think or believe, right?
Yeah. I think that your position on religion is the least interesting thing about you, likely.
Yeah, because really it's there's nothing really to it. You're either convinced or you're not, and I'm just not. So that's all there is to it. I just don't believe.
It's great. I love that. And then I have two other shows. One of them is called Good and All, and this is based on a concept I have where, like, a lot of the internet is like the octagon. You know, MMA, the octagons, where you go to fucking fight and get your ass kicked and kick ass and hone your skills, right? And there's a value for that. People who want to hone their argument skills go into the fucking octagon and fight it out and get good at it.
It's called Facebook.
See, I am not on Facebook.
See, there's so many groups on Facebook that they do that, where they have all the arguments and stuff like that. And it is really a good place to, exactly as you said, hone those skills.
And on Google Plus, so I'm part of the old guard Google Plus days.
You probably know my friend Randolph then, Randolph Richardson. He was huge into Google Plus.
Yeah, he wasn't in the circles that I was. I was in with like Dragnot Silvis and JD.
Oh, Drags, cool.
And my wife Shanna Mowdy, who at the time was Shanna Rocky, was in the G Plus kind of hang, and she also was in charge of the philosophy of religion G Plus community, which was like recommended by Google Plus. It was one of the, what do they call that? One of the premier community jams. So
nice.
She's the oracle on the couch right now. So as part of that kind of old school thing, and there was arguments, to your point, just like that. You know, there was a woman, Nadia, who would have like 24-hour, 18-hour hangs where people would just go in and have at it with each other. And so anyway, so let's see. So I have because the internet is the octagon. I like to provide a dinner table, because at the dinner table, like meeting of the minds, you can disagree with people without being disagreeable, and you're still going to be fed, you're still going to be nourished, and you're still going to like each other and be family at the end.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
So with that in mind, I have a hangout called Good and All. And Good and All is a prescription strength hangout for when you have a case of the fuck it alls, because you spent too much time in the octagon part of the internet.
I think I've swallowed a few bottles of fuck it all.
Yeah. So, you know, when you've had a little too much of the fuck it all, come and get some prescription strength Good and All, where everything's just good and all. And it's the way I liken it is, when I do it, it's on Sundays at around 2:00, and it's like the neighborhood friend whose back door to their kitchen is always open on Sundays. I'm inviting you there because when you go to a party, you always end up in the kitchen. So why not just start there? And I cook my like weekly meals while I'm shooting shit with people. So there's that version of connection. And then on top of that, I am a musician. So one of the bands that I am, like, I am a one-man funk band, and I sing, and I have a loop station, and I call that band Flavortooth. So I have a hangout called Flavortooth where I interview musicians. Some of the Go ahead.
Do you have links to all these different things, or?
Oh, they're all at my YouTube channel.
Oh, okay.
I just do 3 different shows. I keep things concise. I don't. Oh,
right.
Wait a second. We're supposed to drop.
Wet our whistle.
Whew. I keep things concise. I'm not doing it for views. I haven't done a hangout in a couple of weeks, maybe even a couple of months. Mm-hmm. I just, like I said, I'm using the internet for my quality of life. So my YouTube channel is there. These hangouts are there, the Atheist, the Good and All, the Flavortooth. And when I want to do the connecting, it's a reminder that, like, hey, here are the things that are important to you and that you value, and it's good for you to do this. You have musician friends, interview them. You have friends that are good at philosophy of religion or psychology of religion, which I'm totally into, so the psychology aspect of things, everything. then yeah, then atheist is the thing. And then when you just want to connect about what did you do this week? What did you watch? What did you listen to? What's new? What's good? That's the good in all hangs. So
Very cool.
so
Very
that's
cool.
my channel.
The philosophy of religion part. Have you had Shannon Q on?
No, I have not.
Because she'd be a great guest for that kind of thing.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. I think that she has popped up in one or two of my chats.
Oh, probably.
And I was happy to see it.
She's good people.
Excellent.
Just don't let her hug you when she's drunk. She'll spill wine on you.
Mental note.
Believe me, I know from experience. I know there was no coins, but I went and took a sip anyways.
All right.
So, you pretty much have you? Is that kind of all you've got to tell, or is there still more?
As far as, let's see, I was trying to cover the arc of deconversion and kind of mix it into the YouTube channel that I currently have. So I think that's pretty much it.
All right.
As far as like my output, now I'm open to answer any questions that you have.
Sure. Oh, I've got some. Always have some.
Here we go.
How'd you get? First of all, before we get into my questions about the atheism side, but I want to talk a little bit about being a musician as well. I want to talk a little bit about the music part as well.
Right.
So, how did you get it? Like, what led you into becoming a musician? Like,
Are you ready for this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm ready. Yeah, I'm always ready.
So, I've lived multiple lives, right? So,
Wait, like reincarnation, or
no, not at all. All in this one life. Okay, so here's a trajectory that's interesting. My mom is one of 9 children. Like I said, I was raised Roman Catholic.
yeah, oh yeah,
Second oldest of 9, and currently the matriarch of the family, right? And because of that, we lived in Ocean County. I grew up in Toms River, New Jersey. So in Ocean County, everybody lived near each other, and my aunt, her husband, and kids needed a place to stay while they were transitioning to another place. Well, my uncle, so they stayed at our place. My uncle played the bass, and where they were going, they needed to like offload as much as they could. So he like sold it to my parents for like, for nothing. And my parents are like, okay, well, we bought this bass for you because, while he was there, he was teaching me. I seemed interested. And they're like, if you're interested, we'll do it. But
cool.
You need to take lessons. And so I was like, okay. So I started taking lessons. You know what? Do you mind if I play a little something? Because I'd like to demonstrate something about my first lesson, my first bass lesson.
Absolutely.
Okay. I love the way you think, brother.
We didn't really do a sound check, but this will be the sound check.
I will be very soft at first, and then I will turn it up slowly. Okay. So can you hear? Hold on one moment. The way that this headphone wire is now. Okay, can you hear?
Oh yeah, can hear
You hear
that.
that? Okay.
Is that
So
a 5-string or a 6-string?
This is a Ibanez. I just got this. This is an Ibanez EHB 1506
6-string.
multi-string. So it's the
okay.
multi-scale. So you see how the fretboard is?
Yep. Wow,
And it's ergonomic.
that's cool.
So no matter where you sit it on your lap, it fits perfectly.
That's pretty sweet.
Thank you. I'm very happy with it. I got it about a month ago. Now, why do I have so much verb on me? No verb. There we go. So, I hope that's not overblown. So, normally, as somebody who has taught bass, when a student comes in, and I was like, what, 12? I was 12 when I came in for my first bass lesson. The first thing you do is, like, you get used to, like, here are the strings, here are the frets, here's a scale. Right? No. My first bass teacher, because I kind of knew some of that from what my uncle had taught me, he starts teaching me. He's like, here's what a minor 9 chord is, or a minor 7th chord. Right? He's like, and then here's what a major 7 chord is. He teaches me Autumn Leaves, the jazz
Oh,
standard,
wow.
on bass in chords. That was my first like I still have my first lesson book, and it is the chords for Autumn Leaves.
Nice.
So that's what got me into music. From there,
I think the opening for Battery, one of the Metallica songs, has that minor 7 stuff in it too.
oh yeah. Woo. Wait a second. I don't want to.
I'm into all kinds of music myself, but
Good man. I am a funk enthusiast. Now,
fuck, why don't you live near me? God damn it, I could use a bass player like that.
so from there, I connived my parents into letting me go to Hollywood, California in 1989 when I was 17 years old. I turned 18 while I was in Hollywood, and I went to the Musicians Institute. Now, for those of you that don't know, the Musicians Institute is like a trade school or technical school for musicians. Now it is accredited, and you can get a bachelor's there and master's. I'm sorry, I'm getting like...
Is my hair getting in your face? My apologies.
Yeah, come on, man. I told you not to mess with my stuff.
I sent it airmail.
Just a bag of it.
Yeah, just
Sprinkle it on
scatter
top
my
of
hair.
everything.
Here's my DNA. Go ahead, do some.
So keep in mind, 1989, my hair is down to here. Big hoop earrings, jelly bracelets, you know, like it's
Goomy
the year
bracelet.
of Whitesnake and Guns N' Roses and all this. Yeah. And I go there to make it and to go to BIT, right? Which, like, Billy Sheehan was teaching there, and all of these great, Jeff Berlin, Gary Willis. So that got me even more into it. I was in a band. We won a Battle of the Band contest, did a recording. Nice. And then the vocalist moved back to La Jolla, San Diego, and took me with him. And I lived in La Jolla for a little bit and played in a bunch of bands. And then I moved back home, and, well, more appropriately, my parents came to visit, saw how I was living, and took me back home.
Oh, boy.
And there was an application for the University of the Arts, which is a music school in Philadelphia, on the kitchen table when I came home. Wow. So I got into that school, and I studied jazz. And I studied jazz until I took an elective. We had to take an elective because it was an accredited school. And I took a psychology course. It was like the hand of the universe came down and touched me on the forehead and said, you know, this is what you should be doing. Because I was already playing gigs at the time. And I was thinking to myself logically, if the goal is to get gigs, and I'm getting gigs, and the straw that broke the camel's back was during a particular dry season, one of my teachers asked me if I knew of any gigs for him. Wow. I was like, this is not what I want to do. I don't want this to be my reliable income. Like, fuck this.
Yeah, it's not exactly reliable.
So I decided to pursue the super reliable bachelor's degree in psychology. Like a fucking asshole. So that's that. So that's the answer to that question.
Awesome. Now with
but wait, I have another quick story. So speaking of music,
sure.
One of my only claim to fame, if you can imagine there is one, is if you're familiar with the guitar player Steve Vai.
I am very much so. Yeah.
So when he tours, he needs other guitar players to cover all the other guitar parts, and one of those guitar players, his name is Dave Weiner. So I toured with Dave Weiner, and I recorded on one of his albums, and he got me a audition with Steve Vai, where I got to like play with Steve Vai.
That's
for
pretty
the
impressive,
audition.
Dude.
So of course I didn't make it, and I'm glad I didn't because it was for an international tour, and I didn't have my passport. But I could not. He was doing, for the first time ever, Steve Vai was doing a cattle call for bass players, and I immediately texted Dave, and I was like, you have to get me a slot. And he's like, all right, man, Friday at 2. I was like, what? He's like, here's the 3 songs you need to learn. Fuck. I slept 2 hours in those 3 days. It was a mess.
That's dedication right there, folks.
My fingers were bleeding. I had to get this stuff called liquid skin.
Yes.
And just keep reapplying it. Oh, man. I was in bad shape.
Yeah, we used to use that. There's another version of it called liquid glove as well. which is the same sort of thing. And you smear that on,
Mm-hmm.
and it protects your hands from, like, if you're working with dirt and stuff like that. But it works very well for a guitar as well.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
So that is the answer. That is all the music stuff I have.
I mean, my whole claim to fame musically was being able to perform with a band that I grew up loving, a local band actually. They're in the punk rock scene called the Dayglow Abortions, and being able to open.
Great
well,
name.
mind you, I put the show on through the company I was attempting to start back then, Lifeblood Entertainment. But there's a whole story behind that. The quick of it is, I started a blood donor group in honor of my father's commitment to donating blood, and then we decided to promote it through musical shows and stuff like that, and get new people to join the club. And I got well over 200 people in my group. Currently, I can't donate because of the blood thinners. But anyway, we did a big show, and we had Dayglow Abortions, which headlined it, and some friends of mine out of Kelowna, a band called The Wild, which is kind of like if Buck Cherry and AC/DC had a love child. That's kind of what they sound like. And another band called the Aviator Shades, which was going around the local circuit, quite popular on the radio. Even a couple of our tunes we made. I actually got to play live on the radio too, which is pretty cool. But
that's
yeah,
awesome.
so that was my big claim to fame, was that little segment of time and being able to open up my own show.
You play guitar, yes?
No, I'm the vocalist actually for this band. Yeah,
nice. So who would you compare yourself to stylistically?
I've been compared to multiple people. The weirdest one is Anthony Kiedis, and I'm like, really? I don't hear it, but okay. Mostly it's what's his name from Stained, who's kind of off the rails these days. But and I think Serge Tankian from why can't I remember the name?
Meshuggah?
No, not Meshuggah. Serge Tankian. Fuck the hell are they called? Mikey, get in here.
System of the Down?
That's it. System of a Down. Thank you. Yes. And I've been compared to him too. Once or twice I've been compared to Eddie Vedder. It's like, it's weird. All these different
That's awesome.
vocal stylings, and then I guess maybe I'm a conglomerate of all of them. I always said I sound more like Fred Flintstone, but
Yabba dabba doo, brother.
Yeah.
Oh, and also I think that Neil is going to be kind enough to let me do a little jam in the post show if anyone's interested in what I sound like stylistically. I'm going to be playing one of my originals.
Hell yeah, that's going to be cool. That will be happening in the after party, guys. So get your tickets now. $29.99. You can go right to my PayPal. I'm just kidding.
Get them while they're hot.
That's
live at the Spectrum.
I wish I could say this was true, Bill, but I haven't owned a motorcycle. Well, and it wasn't even mine. Somebody just gave it to me. So I guess I owned it since 1989, I think, was the last one I owned. So I never had a license. Just drove it around anyways. And, or rode it around, I should say, anyways. But never got pulled over. One of these days, I should actually go get my license and get a bike. But that's for future Neil to worry about at the moment. Right now, I got to worry about getting over my DVT, which is the deep vein thrombosis, why I'm on the blood thinners right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, stick to the program.
Yeah, it's lethal if I don't. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we need you around, brother. We need you around.
So Mikey Fabin in the private chat, or the side chat for you and I, says that I have a great modern grunge voice. So there you go. I'm always here for you. Oh yeah, you put it in the System of Down. Thank you. Thanks, Mikey. You're right.
Excellent.
I just didn't see that he had put that in there till just now. So because I try to focus mostly on this. All right. My next question, I think, is more to do with the atheism side and your coming out of the atheism, or out of the religion. How did that affect your relationship with any of, like, your friends and families that were still sort of into it? Did it have a harsh effect, or?
It didn't necessarily with my mom, particularly. So with most everybody else, like, keeping in mind that I was living in Philadelphia at the time, even though I was born and raised in Jersey. Once I went to Philly for music school, I never left. I was there, for like 25 years.
Right.
And I mean, you can walk around Philly with an atheist t-shirt and likely get more high fives than sneers. So it's like, the East Coast liberal mentality, just like, who cares that you're an
Yeah.
atheist? Of course you're an atheist. You're in Philly. You're in New York. You're in
Yeah.
Jersey, right? Except certain parts of Jersey and New York and Philly. But my mom, she was particularly upset about it. She didn't believe me. She's like, no, you don't believe that. You know what I mean? Like old
Telling you
school.
what you believe.
Well, she's the Italian part of my family, so she's very good with the
I'm part Italian too, FYI.
good man. She's very good with the. I'm sure you'll make the right choice. Right, that move.
Right.
So she was not happy with that. And then I knew she had officially come around in her own way when she decided to get me like a Christopher Hitchens book for Christmas, of all things.
Wow.
Yeah. And then of course she has a story to tell. She's like, I'm in Barnes and Noble and I'm asking for this particular book, and they said it's over in the atheist section, and I can feel the flames of hell licking at my toes. I was like, oh, Ma, you were so dramatic.
You ever seen that meme of somebody? I think I got kicked out of Barnes and Noble or Chapters or whatever the fuck stories in for putting all the Bibles in the fiction section.
Oh, that's
You ever seen that meme? I actually have done that in the bookstore that we've done here. I picked a pile of them up and I started putting them over. The guy that works there is kind of looking. He's got his little pad thing. He does like one of these. So he's like entering numbers, I guess ISBN numbers, and he's like, "What are you doing, sir?" I'm like, "Well, I'm just putting this where it should be." He goes, "What is that?" I go, "It's the Bible. It should be over in the fiction section." And he just cracked up. He didn't yell at me or nothing. He just thought it was the funniest fucking thing ever.
The worst thing I've done at Barnes and Noble is when I was in college. Me and my friend used to return books like just we were done reading that were bought anywhere, because they had this like crazy return policy where they'd give you like half price returns or something like that. Sometimes we'd get busted. They'd be like, "This isn't even in our inventory. Like, this still has the Borders sticker on it, sir." Oh, sorry about that. Forget that one. Right?
I don't know how that one got in there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Mikey, I think maybe you can pop in here now if you've got any questions. I'm sure you've got some stuff. I can hear the wheels in his head turning, so he's got to have something going on there.
I'm
Unless,
ready.
of course,
Put me in a hot seat.
he might be eating, but I don't know.
No, they're fucking late getting my food here. It's fucking
What did you
horny.
order? Wait a second. I'm a food guy. What did you order?
Well, I'm in Chicago, so there's Portillo's.
Deep
Which
dish
has,
pizza.
no, I didn't order it. No one eats that on a daily basis. We're already
know.
400 pounds. We'd be 800 pounds if we ate deep dish every day.
I
But
almost don't consider that a category of pizza, but don't get me started.
look, I get it. Everybody hates us because they say our pizza's a casserole and it's lasagna with a crust, and like I get it, but it's
Casserole. I've never heard that articulated exactly that way, but that's good. That's good. I'm gonna have to remember that.
I get it. It's different. People are allowed to be different. Fucking kink shaming bastards.
Before you get into a question, Mikey, Swede had one.
Oh.
Question for the guest: did your deconversion affect other parts of your ideologies, such as political or economic, etc.?
Yes. Yeah. The way that let's see. So here's a quick story about my something that helped, a variable of interest in my deconversion that I didn't reveal because I didn't remember it until just now.
Okay.
When I was like a junior in high school or a senior in high school, I decided to read the Bible, like front to back. And I bought one of these things called the 1 Year Bible. And what it is it's the Bible split up into 365 sections with one section from Old Testament, one section from New, and one Psalm or something to that effect. And for a year, I read the Bible. And I tried to adhere as much as a 16, 17-year-old could to the ideas, but at the same time, I'm riding a hormone train of adolescence and driving myself neurotic because it's like, hey man, just the thought of the dirty nasty is as bad as the dirty nasty.
It's like trying to floss your teeth while riding on the front of a Saturn V rocket.
That's good. I like
I've only done that for charity. But I agree.
It's just no way, man.
Yeah.
It's just no way. But were you finished answering? I'm sorry, I interrupted with my stupid Saturn V racket reference.
All good. So, like, yeah, the way that I thought about things certainly was I recognized how harmful I was being to myself, right, and being so self-critical and trying to adhere to things, and I was going to mass by myself for a couple of weeks, and at that point I was like, you know what, this doesn't seem. It's not like, well, again, I didn't think this consciously, but it was like, this wasn't made for humans.
Right.
Like, there's no way to adhere to this because it requires you to be your own thought police. And for me at that time in my life, that's all my head was filled with, was the things that were apparently sins. And so it was like, come on, man. Like, how am I supposed to get through a day? There's only so many prayers I can say for, penance. So
only so many Hail Marys and shit.
Exactly. So I'm exaggerating kind of to make a point, but that certainly was a variable. So I think that answers the question, because did any of my political positions change, or like sociological, or just perspectives of the world? I certainly, when I was trying to adhere to what I was reading, I certainly did view things differently, right? Like abortion is absolutely wrong. You have to be pro-choice. Why would you murder babies? Blah, 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 blah. I was literally thinking.
You just said pro-choice, though.
What, did I say pro-choice? Good, it's because I am. I mean, because it's like...
Yeah, as am I.
Freudian slip.
Ovarian slip.
Uh-oh.
That was my nickname in college.
That's a good punk band name.
Yeah. What's up, guys? We're Ovarian slip. Let's fuck shit up.
Thank you, Philadelphia.
Which TV chef do you think you could outcook?
TV chef Guy Fieri.
Good question. Oh, yeah?
Is he even a chef? I think he's just a guy.
No, he is.
Does he cook? I see him just squirting sauce in his mouth. I never see him like, hey, let me prep some onions for you. Like, I don't know. Does he have knife skills?
I think he'll beat me with. I think he'll beat me. I think he will beat me with technique, because I have seen his knife skills, and they're for real. But I think that his flavor combinations are jive. They're too extreme. They're like, wow, flavor time. By the way, I love Guy Fieri. Don't get me wrong. As much as I think that his flavor combinations are jive, when you tame them down, like when you know how to cook and you see what he's doing, and you're like, I see what you're going for, but I'm not going to put that much of that ingredient in that dish. Right? That's
a lot of what you just put. That's a lot.
Exactly. Like, of course you think it tastes great because your taste buds are completely overwhelmed with bullshit. Like,
this sounds stupid and trite, but seeing him on Hot Ones and then doing his whole thing, and then he goes, hey, by the way, no water. And I was like, oh, that was the GOAT move. He is the one.
Yeah, Hot Ones is one of my favorite shows.
I can't stop watching it. It's addicting.
Is that the chicken wing thing?
Yeah.
Like
and
the
Rachel,
one I did the other day?
Something like that.
I tried something like that on my show where me and Dragnot ate. We both had Hot Ones sauce. Because I was a fan of Hot Ones, I bought the sauce and sent one to Drag, and we both made chicken with that sauce on it and ate. And while we were suffering, my wife was asking us questions, like really difficult, assholey questions. And me and Drag were sweating it out, and I lost that because I have a good front game. Like, I can take hot spice in my face hole. As soon as it hits my gut, forget it. It hits the eject button. Pow!
Yeah.
You're
out of here. No, not that way. The way you came in.
Exactly.
It's like dropping a match down like an old mining shaft.
There's
some gases in there.
You don't realize that you have capsaicin nerve endings that line your stomach lining and your duodenum and your stomach, like all that. Like, it is a pain. It is like eating a piece of hot molten lava It's just fucking painful. I just can't. I can't.
You're
I don't.
supposed to do the level up thing where you start out kind of mild and work your way up. Like this is the one that we did.
Nice.
Hot sauce challenge, right? Where you open them up and they got a bunch of different sauces there.
See, so I can tell you this. So here's an advantage to working in the field of smell, because it's the chemical senses. The chemical senses are smell and taste. And something that you learn from adaptation and habituation is that for spicy food, there's a trick that you can do, which is, Neil, you mentioned going from lower to higher intensity Scoville units.
Yep.
Another is, if something is too spicy for you, but you think you can manage it, but it's just like, that's fucking really spicy. Eat a little bit of it and wait 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, you'll have adapted to the spice enough that when you go back at it, it should appreciably depreciate. I'm going to say that again. It will
Noticeably.
It'll be noticeably depreciated. It'll be lowered so that you hopefully will be able to enjoy it. So that's a trick that you can do too.
Or
Go ahead.
don't eat that shit. It's too hot.
God damn the hell. Are you not a spice dude, Mikey?
Look, I like.
Look, listen. This is my favorite way to start sentences. Listen.
Observe. I can do like jalapeno flavored potato chips. I'm like, ha! Ate a whole chip that time. Ha!
You're a mess. Oh, no.
It's
Not
too
those
hot.
single chips that come in on their own. Like
No.
Oh, I did the one chip challenge on my channel too. Same. I
Cool.
tried to hold it in and not eject it, and I started seeing through time. At the beginning of the hang, I eat the chip. It's like, I can kind of tell the spice. I can tell the pepper. Everything's good. Everyone's dying. I'm like, you guys are a bunch of wimps, right? After like 20 minutes, I go, I'm going to stop the hangout because you guys are such wimps. You're whining like babies. This is no big deal. Maybe I got a dud chip. Mid-sentence, I just start looking into space. And I need to start grabbing onto my seat to not blast into orbit around Earth. I started tripping my face off on like the spice component. I had to go puke that shit out.
I can't. I'm a salty, savory kind of person, so hot has just never been my thing. Everything's been too hot, but now I'm like, there was a whole chunk of jalapeno on that piece of pizza, and I ate it.
Get out of here, you.
I
have a
ate the
jar
whole
of
thing.
atomic pickles in the fridge right now.
Is someone trying to hurt you? Have you angered someone recently?
My boss grows. Hold on, you want to see something crazy? Hold on 1 second.
It's just a bottle of capsaicin.
It's just pure capsaicin powder.
It's like, this goes in my coffee every morning.
Oh, good Lord, no.
These,
Are those Scotch bonnets?
not necessarily. My boss, she actually gave me a document telling me what each one is, but she grew these.
Wow. Looks like a Reaper in there.
She says it's not. I said it looked like a Reaper too. Yeah. These are all these crazy exotic. What's good about these is if you have a mandolin, you can slice it super duper thin, eat it, and you can get the flavor component. Because some of these have like hints of like bubblegum and citrus. It'll burn your face off if you have too much of it at once, but like at a very, very small amount. Excuse me. And that's the cool part about flavor perception psychophysics, is that things at super duper duper minuscule amounts smell good like musk, but at their natural concentration or at high concentrations, they smell like shit.
So
Yes.
you
yes, I
hate.
do.
So you hate your face, is what I'm gathering. So you're like, yeah, a little bit is fine.
so many
but I've got
reasons,
a
Mikey.
whole bag. I got a whole bag of these things I'm gonna burn my face off with.
Just don't rub your eyes after.
Oh yeah.
Thing is, I'm not going to be able to eat them all, so I'm going to throw them in a jar of vinegar that I have.
Oh, pickle them. That's a great idea.
I thought he was
love
making some.
pickles, basically.
I thought he was making a pipe bomb.
I'll make a Molotov cocktail out of it.
You don't even need fire. You don't even need to light it. Just throw it, and it's just so spicy.
At a hot
It will-
day. Just explodes.
It just, or if your car won't start in the middle of the winter, you just pour a little bit of that vinegar over the engine block. It'll warm that shit right up.
Take the varnish off of your... and
Would you like to get to the straight metal on your car? Is that pesky clear coat in the way? Couple of eye drops of this bad boy, you'll go straight to the iron. So with your music stuff, because I guess atheists and musicians go hand in hand. I play.
Unless you're Striper.
Demon Hunter. POD. What's your advice to musicians starting out, aside from practice? Because they should practice.
Depends on what their goal is. So give me something more specific, because if somebody just wants to learn music for the sake of learning music, just to be a technician, I have very different advice than somebody who wants to make a living at it performing gigs.
That's fair. Yeah. That's fair. I didn't put enough thought into the question. That's fair.
I'll
Thank you.
Both very quickly. I'll try.
There we go.
I'll try to bumper sticker each of them. So, if you're going to learn music,
start with the fame proponent, and then go for the technical. So if you want to become big or something.
Well, yeah. If you want to not make it as in make it famous, but make it as in be able to maintain a budget as a full-time musician. Then
right.
I very much recommend. Let's see, not only pursuing the things that you want, which might be like your own band, but also having the connections and chops to be able to play in other bands that are going to help pay the bills, like wedding bands and stuff like that, or jazz trios or brunch gigs, like gigs that you can just pick up here and there, and then do your gigs on like the Friday nights and not have to do other weird shit, and play weddings on like Sundays and get paid $200, $300.
Get your combo game up.
Yeah. And then if you want to learn if you want to be a musician for the sake of learning composition and just understanding theory or improvisation, which is like my big thing. I'll
be right back.
Go ahead. Let's get some food.
Yep.
Then my advice would be to practice a lot. You kind of need. Psychological research has shown that when it comes to talent, it only gets you so far. People who are really good in any form of expertise have talent, but expertise is talent plus practice. There are people who can practice at the same amount. The ones with natural talent are the ones that are going to be the signal above the noise of the people who practice the same amount, right? Talent is going to be that special je ne sais quoi that's going to make them the signal above the noise. So put in your time, and having talent helps. That's how that works. It also depends on what your goals are. My goals have changed over my lifetime. Fortunately, I didn't pursue being a full-time musician, but at the same time, I maintained a part-time. Like only in the past 5 years have I stopped playing, 2 to 3 gigs a week on top of my full-time job, on top of my part-time lecturing at college. Like I like keeping busy.
Right.
So let's see. My interests in music have gone from just wanting to play rock to, wanting to be, going to Hollywood, wanting to be a rock hair metal kind of dude. White Snakey, Guns N' Roses, to jazz school, wanting to play jazz, playing jazz gigs, getting into wedding bands, getting into acoustic duos, getting into my own original funk stuff. And now I don't really play too many gigs, but I'm super deep back into jazz, except bebop.
Right.
For some reason, bebop sounds like the music that I should be playing. So I'm super deep into bebop. And now with YouTube, like when I was in music school, there was no YouTube. Right. Now with YouTube, it's like, how does Charlie Parker do that thing? It's just like, here's 40 pages of people explaining that thing that you're interested in, showing you how to do it in 50 billion different ways. Whereas when I was in music school, it's like, hey, I think I have a Xeroxed copy of a transcribed solo from Charlie Parker, right? It was like that. Because he listened to the tape back 5 times.
Right.
So
the tape, fuck.
Right. And then I always tell people this, but kids today, like kids born after 2000, don't have a working knowledge of what rewind means. because they've never had a cassette with any sort of tape that needed to be rewound. So so rewind just means backwards to kids.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fucking weird. They've never had cassettes.
Well, keep in mind that cassettes were a luxury, because if you had the album and you were learning a part, you were literally moving the needle back to a certain spot every time.
Yeah.
Yep. Which is actually easier, in my opinion.
Well, it depends if you have the luxury of the lever that pulls the arm up, which was the nice turntables. But if you didn't, you had to do it manually.
That's what I had.
I got one of those.
My family wouldn't buy anything else other than
you
the
guys are
high-end
bougie.
Sony shit. Yeah. Well,
I've had mine for about 2.5 days, so I'm an expert. I knew what that lever was. It was my birthday.
Yeah, he bought himself a turntable. So what'd you get, anyways, Mikey?
Bacon cheeseburger.
Attaboy.
With crinkle fries with a cheese cup because Chicago.
What's the name of the place?
Portillo's.
Portillo's.
They're known for their hot dogs and their Italian beefs, but I can't be bothered for 8,000 calories tonight. I'll settle with 3,000.
So my friend Nick just gave it. He's like, "Yep, in time for Marty to show everyone how old he is." About right. He's referring to talking about cassettes and tapes and stuff.
I'm older than Nick.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
But he looks
I'm
older
not.
than both of us.
I would love it, Mikey. I would love it, Mikey, if you were older than Nick.
No, he's not.
Eventually, I will be.
The hell out of
Yes.
here with that.
See, there's the jersey right there. The hell out of here with that.
Not for nothing.
All right, well, we're going to wrap this up, I think, guys. We've gone past the hour, so we're going to get into the after party, and it's going to be more like an after party / jam session, I think, pretty much. Because I'm pretty sure Mike will probably grab his guitar and maybe.
Oh!
Maybe.
I just listened to an hour of him telling his accolades. I don't even own guitars anymore. They're underneath the house somewhere. No, those are hidden. Yeah, sold those as soon as I got in here.
But if anyone else would like to jump in here and rewind Boomer, tons of mice. Anyways, if anyone else would like to hop in here with us, yeah, of course, Nick was like, "Oh yeah, send me a link," because he wants to poke fun at us. Because he does that pretty good, right? So we're going to do that. So if you're interested in it, message Mikey here via Twitter, or if you have him on Facebook, or myself if you don't have Mikey on any of those. And yes, as a little ticker tape there says, link to the after party is in the description box. It will also pop up on the screen as a suggestion for the next video when this one is over and runs through the credits and all that stuff. Or not credits, but the ends, whatever the hell it is. Mess that we've made. All right, so yeah, that's the final hashtag coins for this episode. All right, so thanks again for everyone for hanging out with us. It's great to have you in here, and thank you, Christopher, for being my guest today. It was fantastic having you on, man. I've been looking forward to chatting with you.
Was absolutely mine. You guys rock my fat ass. I can't think of a better way to have spent my evening, and it hasn't ended yet. That's
right. We're only partially way through here, man. Mm-hmm. All right, so before we go, don't forget that Randolph and I are starting our own call-in show, the style that you're quite familiar with. It's going to be called True North Talk, and it will be coming eventually. We're still building the studio. So if you sub to the channel, you won't miss our launch date. Hit that little bell notification, and you'll be notified as soon as we do. But there are some funny little videos you can watch in the meantime of us trying to put the place together, and it's all done to like Benny Hill music. So it's kind of funny stuff. So. All right, myself and Mikey has been on there a couple of times, at least 2 or 3 times, I think, something like that, on the revamped and relaunched Nonprofits, which is one of the ACA products. Airs at 3 p.m. Central Time between Talk Heathen and the Atheist Experience. If you're unfamiliar with it, head over to the channel, give them a sub, and you might see my ugly mug pop in there eventually. I'm on a hiatus from the show because of my mom and myself with the DVT, and my mom being in the hospital. So Johnny put me on. He's like, "You're sorry, but I'm putting you over in the waiting room until this shit's dealt with." So, but I'll be back eventually. And the last Saturday of every month, but except for this month because Andy has a little thing to do with his with his kid there that he's got to go do. So we'll probably bump it to the following week. And it's a little show we do called Atheist Drinking Out Loud, where we have a few drinks and make fun of shit that we think is funny. And Mike has been on there with us on that one too, which has been a lot of fun. And our last guest was Bionic Dance, who may pop into the after party tonight, which will be kind of interesting. Anyways, guys, like I always say at the end of these shows, like the late, great Christopher Hitchens once said, it's called faith because it's not knowledge. We'll see you guys next time.
What's untangled?